Hello, Soul Fam. My name is Sarah Rose. Welcome. If you are new here, welcome to Divine Femme TV, or welcome back if you've been here for a while with me. I have a special transmission coming through right now for all of the starseed light leaders that are here to lead New Earth. So you know who you are. If you've landed here, if this resonates, if this title resonated with you, if you've been resonating with Divine Femme TV and the transmissions that I put out, I clearly know that part of my mission has been to activate other star seeds, and this is what I've been doing for years. And this message is coming through very, very clearly for those that are here on the leading edge to create the new earth through their embodiment, through their frequency, and yes, through fully connecting with your galactic roots. And I normally don't speak like this, but I'm being guided to share this and go a little bit deeper with some of my own personal experience that I will add in here, and share with you the message that's coming through very profoundly and very clearly. And so many of you know that have been following me for some time is that I set out on a journey recently, just God, the divine, the infinite intelligence, and my two fur babies on a destination that is to a destination unknown for an undefined amount of time. And that first landed me here in Prescott, Arizona, which is a beautiful mountain lake town with cozy little coffee shops, reconnecting and with Mother Earth and grounding my energy, which is very, very key, which I'm going to be talking about. Just following the call, following the nudge, following what feels authentic and true. And a little spoiler alert, this is now leading me to Lake Tahoe here within the next 29 days or so. We will be embarking, Hazel, Ruby, and I will be embarking on a new adventure. We're being pulled and guided to be closer to water. And there are lakes here in Prescott, but Lake Tahoe has been calling for some time, and recently the nudge has been so strong and everything aligns. So we will be in Lake Tahoe here early June. And what I wanted to share here is so important. So let's get to the root of this message and this transmission. You are here to be a living transmission of New Earth frequency, which requires your embodiment. And yes, I know that it's windy outside and there's going to be some background wind, but I could not shoot this transmission inside, so you're just going to have to bear with me. If you're listening to this on the podcast, by the way, yes, I do upload these to the podcast, but they're not like immediate. So if you want to get the most timely, these are timeless messages. But if you want to get, the timely factor that is dealing with the transits and everything, and then you're going to want to tune in on YouTube, because they go out first on YouTube and then they go to the podcast. So join us on YouTube if you're listening to this on the podcast. That being said, okay. You are here to be the living embodiment of New Earth frequency, aka Christed consciousness, Sophia Christ consciousness. And I'm not going to dive into exactly what that is here. That's going to be another transmission. But what is being awakened within you is ancient wisdom that has been buried and suppressed for millennia. You are here to be a living, walking, talking transmission of what has been buried and suppressed, which is, in a nutshell, your divine sovereignty. Your divine sovereignty has been buried and suppressed for millennia. Your connection to your own direct line to infinite intelligence has been suppressed, buried, and hidden. And I'm not going to go into all the details of that, but you are here for a reason, or you wouldn't be resonating with this. You are here to be the walking embodiment of the divine feminine in form of the sacred feminine, fully integrated in your body. So we're going to talk about this, because right now a lot of starseeds are not embodied, and I'm just going to share what's coming through. A lot of starseeds are not embodied in their goddess frequency. When I say goddess frequency, I mean God essence. Your goddess frequency is not being held in the physical vessel, for a lot of different reasons. Your vessel is a sacred temple that is here to hold the frequency of new earth, and this is part of what you came here to do. You cannot hold the frequency of new earth in a body that is still calibrated to density, in a body that is still calibrated to fear-based consciousness, in a body that is still functioning highly off of programmed conditioning. The message that was coming through last night, which I was going to record this last night, but it just didn't come through completely, is this: your conditioning is never going to be ready for your new earth timeline, right? As long as you're living from your conditioning and your programming that is deeply seated in lifetimes that you are here to actually alchemize and purify and purge right now, you will not be able to walk your new earth timeline. So it doesn't matter how many videos you watch. It doesn't matter how much you journal. It doesn't matter how many times you tune into a tarot reading or something like that. All of that is taking you off track. All of that is taking you off track, because this is an embodiment game. It's not going to happen in the mind. It's not going to happen through talking about it. It's not going to happen through watching other people tell you what is possible for you. It's going to happen through your living embodiment of it. Hard stop. Your living embodiment of it. That is all that is going to be able to allow you to walk your new earth timeline fully embodied in your divinity, which means that this is where the rubber hits the road. This message is so potent, and I set the intention that it's going to go out to exactly who needs to hear it, when they need to hear it. And not everybody is ready for this, because you haven't been preparing yourself for this up till now. I'm speaking to the ancient souls that are here to lead new earth, that have been doing the alchemy and the purification and are devoted, and still not yet calibrated to their goddess frequency. And this is also going to resonate with starseeds that are still lost, so to speak, that are not embodied, that are not calibrated to their new earth timeline. And there's a lot of different reasons for that, right? Maybe you're not treating your body as the sacred temple that it is. Maybe you're seeking external validation and approval and proof outside of yourself instead of going within. Maybe you're not actually walking in devotion to truth. You're still seeking the instant gratification of the spiritualized ego, and you've just dressed up chasing and seeking and transformation and put it in like a spiritual uniform, and now you're, spiritual in quotations, right? But what you're really doing is you're still seeking and chasing outside of yourself instead of going within and really calibrating to what it is you're being asked to calibrate to at this time, what it is you're being asked to embody at this time. Everything that I've ever put out, PS, by the way, whether it was, if you guys are an OG and you've been in Sacred Leader Academy with me, and even before that, the real OGs of the Evolve membership, it's always been around embodiment. If you don't have the embodiment piece, it means nothing. It's just lip service to the universe, to God, to the divine, to your ancestral team, galactic team, spirit team, like everyone that's here to assist you on this earthly journey to fulfill the mission that you came here to complete, which is to be the living, walking, talking embodiment of Christ consciousness in human form, fully anchored in unconditional love, unity consciousness. Everything else aside from embodiment is lip service, and you're here to fully integrate now in the sacred vessel that was gifted to you in order to move about this 3D reality, experience this play, right? Experience this and play this at the highest level and be the transmission of love, truth, and true freedom, which is not freedom that the egoic mind chases. It's true liberation from within. And I'm just going to call out that there's a lot of starseeds that are not embodied in that. They're still giving their power away in so many different ways, through self-abandonment, through self-betrayal, through seeking and chasing and searching outside of themselves, through giving their power away to someone else or something else. And this isn't judgment. This is just an observation and just what wanted to come through. So I'm just gonna share, like, we are at the very tipping point of new earth frequency. Yes, it's been seeded prior to this for decades by other starseeds that have come before, and light leaders and grid workers. And again, I never speak like this, but I'm just being guided to share this now because it's super potent and powerful and needs to be said. This is the very tipping point of new earth frequency, a new earth timeline, right? You're on the leading edge of it, and there's a lot to be coming in the years ahead that is going to require you being fully anchored in your body, fully calibrated within to divine coherence, with a regulated nervous system in order to hold the frequency of what is coming in. 2026 is just like the year of the fire horse. Like, the image that just came to me is like when there's a race, you know, and like all of a sudden it's like you go, right, and everybody takes off. Like, this is the very beginning of the race, right? Like, this is the very beginning. This fire horse here, this is the kick, right? This is the energy. This is like go time, right? There's a momentum and there's an acceleration picking up, but this is the very, very beginning. 2027, 2028, 2029 is gonna, those that are calibrated and ready to receive the gifts and the magic and the miracles and the blessings and the prosperity and everything that's coming in the years to come, are going to be those that have been calibrating and doing the work in devotion to their higher calling, not giving their power away, spreading their awareness and their conscious focus on everything but what is being asked of them right now. And you can come back to this video in 2 or 3 years and attest to this, or maybe you'll find this video in 2 or 3 years when all of this is happening and you've been the one that has been doing the work and the integration this whole time, and you're going to be the living proof of heaven on earth as you walk your new earth timeline. For those that are moving into that, they're going to be looking at you and you're going to be the living, walking, talking example, because you are doing the integration and the calibration now. And if you're not doing the integration and the calibration now, then, like I said in a previous video, like you cannot hold the frequency of new earth in the vessel that is still calibrated to fear-based consciousness and lower density vibrations. Not every starseed is calibrated to this, and so this message is going to be for those that are at different stages of this. Some are very calibrated and receiving this, and they're like, and you're going to resonate with this. Okay, my phone just died, and I went downstairs to get a snack while I was charging it, and like all this information is just pouring through, and I'm like, wait, I got to get back to hit record. So a lot of you will be resonating with this, and you'll be like following along, and you're gonna just click with this. Others are gonna be triggered because I'm calling out where you're still sabotaging yourself and where you're not fully embodying what you came here to embody at this stage of the game. So for many of you, the message that was coming through before I hit record again is that you have already gone through most likely a Kundalini awakening, okay, if you're listening to this, or you're in the midst of that right now, and that is not enough anymore, okay? So I'm just going to give a little side story. Back in 2012-13, I was guided to activate my own Kundalini awakening. I heard people say, oh, you can't do that. It's just like, well, you're timed. You are here like a little sleeper cell as a starseed, and you're timed to go off at a certain time. It's not a coincidence that in 2012, a huge wave of starseeds started to come online, and then also again in 2019. That's not an accident. That's not a coincidence. You're like a little sleeper cell, and you're like, mission command sent the ping, you received the ping, and you started to wake up. Now, some of you might not have been the case as early on as like 2012 or even earlier than that. Some of you may be watching this and it's been 2019 or more recent years, but it's not an accident. you are being pinged and awakened in waves, okay? So you may have already gone through a Kundalini awakening at the time of watching this recording and transmission. In fact, I probably guarantee you already have, or you probably wouldn't be resonating with this, because the frequency of what's coming through requires a certain level of calibration already to even be receptive to what I'm sharing. So that is not enough, though. All of that was like kindergarten. The last 12 years, what is it, 12, 13, 14 years has been kindergarten, has been warm-ups, right? Getting you ready for the real event. And the real event is going to be happening in the years to come. 2026 is just like the fire starter, right? The year of the fire horse. This is when momentum and acceleration really kicks in for those that have been devoted to doing the calibration work and the embodiment work, right? So in 2013 and 14, I was guided to initiate my own Kundalini awakening. I wasn't conscious that that's what I was doing until after it started to occur, but then I realized that this was all just ancient wisdom from a parallel life in ancient Egypt, of the same techniques that were taught in, Egyptian mystery schools, this is not the first rodeo, right? Like, you have this ancient wisdom buried within you as well. And it's guiding you when you're not living from the mental body and trying to figure all this out as if you're this like human stuck at, you know what I mean? Just separation. You're not connected to your multidimensionality and all of your gifts, right? So this is really for the starseeds that are awakening to their galactic roots and really stepping more fully into mission, because everything up until now has just been warm-ups to prepare you. So there's been a lot of alchemy, a lot of purification, dark night of the soul, spiritual awakening, Kundalini awakening, opening of the chakras, right? And like purging and purifying, all of that alchemy. And now you have been forged in the fire. You have walked the path. You have walked the path of fire, right? The fire of purification. You have gone through your sacred rebirth. You have been reborn, so to speak, right? You have been resurrected many, many times on this journey, deeper levels of embodiment along the way. All of that was kindergarten, warm-ups and preparation for what is to come. This is a message coming through very clear, and so that's why I was being guided to record this right now. The next few years are going to really, they're going to be very potent years for those that are here to lead. And you have to make a decision right now if you're listening to this. Are you here to lead? Are you here to lead? Are you here to live your new earth timeline? Are you here to be a living transmission of truth, love, and freedom and unconditional love? Are you here to walk the talk instead of just letting the spiritual ego run the show, right? Like, some of you are still like treating this whole mission that you're on, which I'm speaking to those that know that they have had a calling in their heart for a long time. This is not an egoic, like, you're super special and important, you have this mission and you have to like do this. No, it's like you have a calling that you can't escape. You've tried to escape it because it would be much more simple to just go live a normal, quote unquote, normal life. You're not able to do that for a reason. You're here to lead. Do you want to lead? Because you cannot lead unless you start to take this more seriously. And the message that's coming through is so many starseeds are still treating this mission and calling on their heart very superficially. You're out there just trying to like grasp at what you think the egoic, for the instant gratification of the egoic mind, chasing and seeking outside of your self. Yes, giving your power away. Yes, lowering your ability to hold and receive. Right? This is why you're still not calibrated to embodying your goddess frequency, right? And there's no judgment here. I'm just being called to kind of be like the spiritual soul sister, the no BS spiritual soul sister that's not going to sugarcoat stuff and feed you a bunch of fluff and feed your spiritual ego. There's plenty of that on YouTube, and most likely you've already clicked away if that's all you were looking for. I'm not here to cater to that. I'm not here to give you spiritual fluff. I've always been the no BS spiritual soul sister. That's how a lot of my clients have always described it, and they gravitate to that because they don't want spiritual fluff. They want someone that has the ability to call out what's happening so that they can actually alchemize it and transform and move beyond it. They don't want more fluff. They don't want something that just feeds their spiritual ego and gives them a little dopamine hit or a little instant gratification. And the thing is, a lot of them will fly into my experience, and through proximity to this frequency of being a sacred mirror for them, they will have massive breakthroughs and shifts right away. But when they go back, if they're not fully devoted to the path and fully embodied to the path and fully treating it for what it is instead of like at the superficial level, they will fall back into old programming and old conditioning. And like I said before, the message that was coming through is your conditioning and programming is never going to allow you to walk your new earth timeline. So don't buy into videos or transmissions from people that are telling you you're moving into your new earth timeline. If you're not doing the embodiment work, then you're just deluding yourself, right? You're delusional. And I say this with love, because that's what the egoic mind does. It comes through the back door and it paints you all of these things that sound really good. But if you're not doing the embodiment work, it does not matter. You have to be devoted to being the channel and vessel that you came here to be. You have to be devoted to being the sacred to treating your body like a sacred temple that it is, and activating the sacred technology within it. So getting back to, I'm being guided to share this. When I was tapping into the ancient wisdom that lives within 4 lifetimes, the same kind of activations that have been taught for millennia, usually in like, you know, intimate settings or mystery schools and stuff like that, I was being guided to do a certain kind of breath work, a certain kind of, you know, solitude, isolation, meditative practice, breath work, spinal breathing, activation. Like there's so many things that were like little pieces that I was naturally gravitating to, that when put together created this activation within, is the best way to put it, that literally blew open a Kundalini awakening in the best way. It wasn't like I mean, it was very opening. It was very like I just went like wide open with my chakras, and so that's another story. But it was intentional. It was divinely timed. It was like the time was to activate and open up, and so I was divinely guided through the ancient wisdom that's already within to, this is not magic. This is not a mystery. Your body is sacred technology. You are wired for this. You are wired to be a divine channel and vessel. You are wired to use this body as sacred technology. You are wired with different techniques that activate and open your channel and allow higher frequency to flow through you, right? And I know many of you have experienced this to quite a degree and have had a Kundalini awakening, so I'm not going to go into that too much anymore. With some of you, you may be going through the midst of it right now, but the message that's coming through is that's not enough anymore. Because of what's to come, you are now being asked to fully integrate and fully activate in order to really step fully into the calling that's on your heart as a new earth leader and be the living transmission of what you came here to be, right? And so, for example, it's not an accident that I've been following the call into some adventure with no destination for an undefined amount of time, with just the intention that I'm going to be immersed more in nature and obviously sacred feminine luxury and this and that. But it goes deeper than that. There's a reason why I'm being called to immerse in nature now and to ground with Mother Earth more so than ever before. So much so that when I heard the call that I'd be moving, I put in my notice. It had no clue where I was going, and I'm just being divinely led. And now that's led me to where I'm at now in Prescott, Arizona. It's leading me to where I'm going next, apparently, which is Lake Tahoe. And also what just dropped in is Mount Shasta, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. These have all been things that have been dropping in for a while, and it's like the little pieces of the puzzle start to come together, but not until you walk it. So I talk a lot about this, that your new earth timeline unfolds as you walk it. You can't plan it. It's not something that's conceptual. You're not here to figure it out. You're here to follow the call. And things are unfolding, side note, as it unfolds, things are unfolding over here that I was not even planning, right? That like I could not even have, you know what I mean? Like it's just beautifully unfolding in a way, but there's a deeper message here that's coming through. And this is what hit so hard just recently that made me want to hit record today on this as a special, like, SOS alert. Like, I'm sorry to say that it's not this isn't fear-based or anything like that, but it is kind of like an SOS alert going out to starseed light leaders that are here to lead New Earth. This is where the rubber hits the road, and it's time to fully integrate and embody. There's no other way. Like, there's no other way. Everything else is fluff. Everything at the conceptual level is fluff. Everything that's giving your attention away, instant gratification, seeking outside of yourself, all of that is fluff. And there's a stage of the journey where that's just part of the process of purification. But if you're listening to this right now, you most likely have already gone through a lot of that. So my mission is always, part of my mission I've known has always been to activate other starseeds. I mentioned that before, I believe before the video cut out. And now it's taken on a whole new level. It's not I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's coming together. Oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay. So like, as these pieces are dropping in, as I'm like being guided to move and immerse myself more in nature, as, which is taking like nervous system regulation even deeper, right? But like making it more of like a daily lifestyle instead of just once in a while. And I never made it once in a while. Even when I was in an urban setting living in Scottsdale, I was still very devoted. I talk about it all the time, going on my sacred walks. You guys probably have heard me talk about that on my transmissions, like literally walking in presence, dropping the mind, dropping language, like walking in the I am divine presence and being immersed in nature. Even if it was just a little nature trail around my community, there was a devotion there. There was a devotion there. And this is a stage where I'm speaking to those who have devoted, or you're being called to devote to what you know is true. And it doesn't matter if you're not immersed in nature right now, even though you may be called to that. You could be in an urban setting like I was in North Scottsdale and still find a way. You'll be called. You got to follow the nudge though, and you got to make it a priority, and you got to not fall into distraction and all the other things that get in the way to try to sabotage your embodiment. Because when you are living, walking, talking embodiment of sacred feminine energy, you are a force of nature that cannot be controlled. This is everything that's been hidden and suppressed for millennia. When you are fully connected and and you are just directly dialed into the divine, and you are a living, walking, talking expression of that, and you are so anchored and calibrated within, calibrated to divine coherence, watch out. That's how you're that powerful that they had to suppress it for millennia. That's how powerful this is, when you actually embody and activate and calibrate and come into coherence with the truth of who and what you are. And so the distractions, the numbing out, the coping mechanisms, the self-abandonment, the self-betrayal, and all those things, all the excuses, all the justifications, everything that comes up that keeps you from being fully devoted to something that's beyond you, that you're being called to, I'm calling that out now, because that's my job. I'm here to call out the sabotaging BS stuff in the shadow that you're maybe not seeing. And I'm doing it with love, because you're here as a fellow light worker and a light leader, rather, to lead New Earth. And you're not going to be here. This is the other thing that was coming through when I was in the kitchen after the video cut out. You're not going to be able to be of high service when you're still operating from fear-based conditioning, lower density programming, and making choices that are not rooted in self-sovereignty. You're not going to be able to, A, be of service at the highest level to the collective, and B, access your higher New Earth timeline. The divine cannot use a vessel that is not fully purified. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything here. This is going out. I'm talking straight to you, because if you've landed here, I know someone needs to hear this. The divine cannot use you as a purified vessel if you are still operating from distortion. So what are you devoted to? That's something that you need to ask yourself. Are you devoted to the world of form and chasing and seeking everything outside of yourself? Or are you devoted to the calling that's within your heart, that already knows your highest path and timeline and contribution to humanity, but requires you to be fully devoted to it? Right? So it's not an accident that when like when I spoke to, like all of the different programs I've ever offered have been to activate those that are light leaders and starseeds, pretty much, right? Like, they may not even have known that that's what what was happening, but most women gravitate to me when they're ready to be activated like that, when they're ready to be activated to something deeper within, and there's some kind of purification, clearing, activation, calibration that's required, and they magically pop into my world. They receive through proximity, through frequency, through sacred mirroring, the calibration, and then those that are actually devoted to their calling will integrate that and continue to move on and be of highest service in the way that they're being called as an authentic divine expression of the one. And those that sometimes will fall back into whatever their old conditioning and programming is. You're being asked right now to go beyond your conditioning and go beyond programming, go beyond your survival mode, go beyond all of the fear-based programming, and actually be open to receive your next steps, your guidance, the clarity, the wisdom, and everything that wants to come through. And it's going to require your devotion. The divine cannot use a channel and vessel that is not fully calibrated to their truth, their authentic expression, meaning you're no longer going to be able to make self-abandoning decisions. So this is just something that wanted to come through very, very, very clearly. And as the puzzle pieces get, come together over here, and there's more clarity through each and every step that I take into the unknown with devotion, it becomes very crystal clear who I'm here to serve, again, which are those that are here to lead New Earth, period. You're here to lead if you've landed here. There's a reason, though, that like all of the offerings that I was literally called to retire a lot of the offerings that I had. And I was like, okay, well, I'm always open to shutting one door and opening the other door. And I call that in all the time. And so some of the offerings closed, right? And that's happened over time, right? With all of the different things that I've offered. And it's not an accident that the things that are being offered now are nervous system rich, which is all about really coming out of survival mode, conditioning and programming, and starting to calibrate your nervous system, immersing in nature and living wildly sovereign, because this is what is required now of the collective that is actually here to lead New Earth. So like, that's not an accident. And me being called to immerse my own self into nature even more and follow the call into the unknown, that's not an accident. Being called to be by water is not an accident. Being called to a very, high frequency spiritual place like Mount Shasta is not an accident. This is very, very important now for those, because you're literally at the very, very beginning stages. So I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but this is the very, very, you thought that you just arrived. This is just the beginning, baby. You just got started. Everything else before this was warm-ups. And those that are fully embodied and calibrated to divine coherence moving forward are going to have a wild 2006, 2007, 2008, and beyond. But it's going to require your devotion, your coherence, and your calibration, your full embodiment and integration. Hard stop. There's nothing else. There's no getting around it. There's absolutely no getting around it. God, there was so much, what else wanted to come through? I don't want this to be too long, so I'm probably going to end it here in a second. One thing that is coming through that is super exciting, and I have no idea, like I'm just throwing this out here right now. By the time this actually publishes, the page for it may already be ready, but I am being guided to be in Mount Shasta for Lionsgate on August 8th, and I'm being called to host something there for the women. Sorry, it's for women. It's for women only, for a lot of different reasons I'm not going to go into now. But this is for women that are feeling called to really activate the galactic codes within them and align fully with their New Earth timeline, and activate even on a deeper level the ancient wisdom that wants to come through. I don't have all the pieces of it yet. They're still trickling in. There's going to be an early bird pricing page, and then there's going to be, you know, and then I don't know when that's going to shift, but it'll say it on the page, and the page will be ready by the time you're watching this video. So I'll have the link in the description. I can say right now what I was feeling when I was sitting with this is it's probably going to be like around 300, either $13 or $333 for early bird pricing. And it's going to be limited to an intimate number, probably 13 women or so. That's very significant. When you know, you know. And it's going to be like, this is just, I'm putting this out there. I already know whoever's meant to be there will be there. So Hazel and Ruby and I will be in Mount Shasta for August 8th, apparently. That's what just dropped in for Lionsgate Portal. And this is going to be so potent. What I am sharing that also came through is you've most likely already done a lot of integration and embodiment work, or you're not going to be ready for the frequency of what drops in during this immersion. We're going to be immersing ourselves in nature. I'm also arranging for I haven't finalized it yet. This is all just downloading and dropping through Lemurian sound healing, sound frequency. So that's going to be really interesting if you're feeling called for that. If you want to come, be activated, calibrated, like really drop in, and like there's going to be so much magic that I can't put words to. I know the power of what happens when in small intimate containers, when there are more than one coming together, and this is a time for more community and collaboration and connection. Because when you have like, let's, you know, like this is an intimate container, when you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, or even if it's only 3 or 4 women just coming together, similar intention, being activated to higher frequency within, that is amplifying the field. That is amplifying the field. So this is not a healing weekend. This is not something to fix or heal. This is not something like you've already done enough calibration and nervous system work to be able to hold the frequency of what's coming in. So this isn't for like beginners to this, and I highly doubt you won't be drawn to, I highly doubt you'll be drawn to this if you are. That being said, if you do want to do calibration work leading up to August 8th, so you're more prepared and more grounded and more dialed in and more embodied and more integrated into divine coherence prior to the event, there's divine identity calibration sessions, which I'm being guided to drop the investment for, to make it more accessible for everybody from now through Lionsgate. And you're welcome to those. Those are single sessions, no long-term commitment or anything like that. And then if you do want something that has more proximity and a little longer duration, and also in a group setting where there's even more power and amplification, then Nervous System Rich is a great opportunity as well. And you can check that out. And then the other thing that was coming through is I am going to be dropping some of the techniques that I use to open up my channel and activate Kundalini and like allow the energy to flow and open up to being a divine channel. I share a lot about how that happened on the podcast, but I'm going to go into more depth on that and then share some of the techniques which also help prepare you, and that's going to be dropped inside the temple along with Forged. So Forged is if you're walking the fire of purification, baby, and that part is resonating with you. Forged is what has been preparing you. Forged is helping you to understand everything, not from a conceptual level, but like really on a soul level, speaking directly to the part of you that already knows of why everything has been happening up until this point, because you're being forged through the fire of purification. So I'm going to be dropping Forged. I'm going to be dropping a Kundalini and energy activation techniques, what I specifically used, that I was being called to use back in 2013 to allow energy to flow, to open up, because that is part of the purification process, and that's part of how you get forged through the fire, right? When the Kundalini energy is activated, it burns through all of the impurities. You don't have to do anything. It's just going to happen on its own. And I can attest to that after over a decade of this, that the purification of that happens and ensues after your Kundalini has been activated takes care of this process, right? So so look for that inside the temple. The temple, every time I drop something new in the temple, the investment goes up slightly. So whenever you buy into it is when you get lifetime access. And then you get access to everything that I've previously dropped, plus everything that I'll be dropping in the future. I'm sure there's going to be also something dropped over the summer, and then also most likely that I'll be recording while I'm in Mount Shasta. There'll be something else dropped in the temple as well. This is all just like coming through right now, like the level of creativity as I continue to walk into my new earth timeline and fully embody this frequency and just let go of the control and trying to figure it all out, and it's all just pouring through in like in beautiful ways and piecing things together. So if you feel called, you'll already know because you feel called. If you feel called to be in Mount Shasta for Lionsgate Portal, this is going to be very accessible. There's going to be the early bird pricing. You can check that out wherever you're listening to this. The link will already be there. I am capping it, so it's an intimate group. It's not going to be like 25 people or anything like that. I'm probably going to cap it at 13 women. And there is the potential, I'm in potential negotiation with actually getting a property there that will have like I'm not even going to spoil it, but whoever is actually registered will have the option to potentially roll into that if they want, where you're going to have like an epic place to stay. And I'm not guaranteeing that right now. Right now it's just you would get your own accommodations, but anybody who's enrolled, if that place opens up, it'll be limited to maybe 4 or 5 women max, and you'll have first dibs to get into that. I guess you could call it like a retreat space, but I'll share more details once that is secured. But either way, it's going to be super accessible. If you feel called, then go ahead and check out the link. DM me on Instagram if you have any questions. The spots are first come, first serve. If you want to connect on a one-to-one level, check out the Divine Identity Calibration session, which is going to be reduced between now and August 8th to make it more accessible. And of course, Nervous System Rich is there if you want more ongoing support and higher proximity. You can check that out as well. I think that's about it. That's all of the housekeeping and all of the updates and everything that dropped in. It's just so... We are living in such an amazing time right now. If you are actually willing to devote to what you know is true in your heart and not treat your calling on a superficial level and realize this is so much bigger than you, so much bigger than what you feel you think you want or need. Like, you are here to live, walk, talk, and be the example of divine truth in human form. And I am calling in and attracting in the women and men, but of course a lot of my offerings, if not all of my offerings right now, are specifically for women that recognize that and recognize the power of coming together to amplify the magnetic field. When powerful women get together that are anchored in their truth, there is nothing more powerful than being able to come together with others that are now activated at this level. And so you'll know if this is for you because you're not seeking healing. You're not seeking outside of yourself. You've been on this journey for a while. You've done a certain level of your own embodiment calibration, and you just want to play and have fun and create in the flow and live your new earth timeline and be activated and amplified by other powerful women in close proximity where the frequency just amplifies the field. So if that resonates with you, I would love to see you in Mount Shasta, and DM me on Instagram at Spiritual CEO if you have any questions. Namaste.